Hi everyone, welcome back. This is the Chapter 4 lecture. So far we have spent some time in the planning phase on our engagements, and you saw that information in Chapter 3, and hopefully you got a chance to work through some of those questions dealing with client acceptance, dealing with our materiality, two of the major focuses, and then we spent some time, remember, talking about the risk assessment procedures. And remember, we said that our risk assessment procedures are going to be important as a step one, and then determine what we do with our further audit procedures and whether we're testing the operating effectiveness of the controls and whether or not we will always do some level of substantive testing. The nature and extent of timing of that substantive testing will depend on the results of our step one, our risk assessment procedures. So now we're going to dig more into that process. That is going to be the real focus of this chapter as we go through and we take a look at the risk assessment procedures, see how the auditor will make the assessment of the risk and material misstatement, looking at something called inherent risk and control risk, and then that will determine the timing, extent, and nature of our substantive procedure. We will then determine the substantive procedures that we are going to apply, and as part of that process, we're going to see that detection risk is something that we are going to lower through those substantive procedures. As we look at those, we are doing substantive procedures to detect material misstatement, whether caused by error or fraud. So we are going to have to maintain our professional skepticism and think about what we call fraud risk factors and how those will influence our process of determining, making our assessment of risk and then determining the timing, extent, and nature of our substantive procedures. I've taken a little different approach with this chapter. In the past, I've had the summary where I've talked about some of the homework questions. This time for this chapter, you're going to see I actually embedded some of the questions in. Actually, we did that a little bit last time as well. So I'm going to be taking that approach going forward. We'll actually embed some of the questions in from your homework and importantly for your quizzes. Don't forget, midterms coming up. I did get into look into Connect, and I see that some of you have not even started any of the homework. You really need to get on that now. It's time to start focusing on that. I know it's busy at the beginning of the semester here, but the time has come that we need to make sure that we're getting in there and working those homework questions and working the quizzes, because that's going to be obviously relevant to our midterm coming up pretty quickly now. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start to take a look at some of the slides.